Congratulations to Dara Yu for winning season 12 of MasterChef, taking home a $250,000 grand prize and the title of MasterChef. I'm Denton Davidson, senior editor for Gold Derby, and we are here with the big winner herself. Dara, what was that moment like? Right at the end, you're standing next to Christian and Michael, waiting for Gordon to call your name. What's going through your head?
Just like a rush of energy. It was such a crazy experience going through the whole season. And to get to that point and stand there again, I knew what it felt like because of MasterChef Junior. And it's actually was funny. I was actually like preparing myself not to hear my name because of some of the trauma from juniors. But as soon as I heard my name, I swear I like blacked out. Like I literally like this energy just like I think just a weight was like lifted from my back, and I it took me a second to really like process that he had just said my name.
Well, everyone was returning from previous cycles. And as you mentioned, you're from MasterChef Junior. You were one of two competing in sort of the finals.
Yeah.
Here, you were just 12 the last time you competed. What do you remember about, watching someone else get that confetti on them? How disappointed were you at that? And then what's that sort of like, what was it like to come back into that kitchen after being there as a kid?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was 12 years old. So that being on juniors was such an incredible, really fun experience. Like that's what I really take away from the whole junior experience was just like, it was fun. I made friends. I got to live in a hotel and have like takeout every night, it was like, and getting to that end, I was just proud of myself to even get to that point. And I was really happy for Alexander. Obviously, like you get to that point, I'm a competitive person. I was a competitive swimmer growing up my whole life. So like, of course you want to win. But I was just happy to even get to that point. But going back, coming back to win for this season, uh, I think around halfway through the season, something like switched in me, and I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I really want this now. Like, I know how it feels. Like, I want to win again, or not again, but I want to win this time, and really lit that fire.
Going into the finale, they have you cook a three-course,
Mhm.
dish, appetizer, entree, dessert. When did you decide what you were going to make? Is that something in the back of your mind you had going in, like before the season even started, or at what point in the competition did you start thinking about, this is going to be my finale dish?
Yeah. This season was really interesting because to be honest, I went into this kind of just being like, you know what, I'm gonna just see how it goes and I'm gonna have fun. And I know like a lot of the contestants, I know like Derek for sure was like, I'm here to win, like I'm gonna win. Like he had his finale menu plan probably, years ago. He's been waiting for this moment. But I guess for me, it was more just like I was riding the wave, and every challenge, I just was like, my focus was just getting through each of those challenges. And after the semifinals, or I mean, prior to the semifinals, like restaurant takeover and all of that, it was a really tough week. We did like 5 days of 5 challenges in 1 week, I think it was. And so, it's a really mentally and physically exhausting process. But I got to the semifinals, and I think getting to that point, getting through top six, uh, I was I had this like new energy that I was just really excited to like get to the end. And so I started thinking about my dish, around top six, because I was like, okay, it's pretty close to the end now. But I knew that I wanted to, cook dishes from my childhood. And, we had some time to really hone in on our menu, which was really great, and got to test some recipes out.
And things get emotional throughout the season. A lot of tears are shed, not just from you, really everyone that we saw. Christian got really emotional at the end talking about his grandmother.
Shanika, like
Yeah, we saw you talking about your father who you lost at a young age. What is it about food in this competition that gets people so emotional?
I think food is a universal language. Everyone eats, everyone has their food traditions, and connects to it in an emotional way. And in this competition, there's a lot of pressure and a lot on us the whole time. And so there's really high highs and sometimes really low lows. And that takes a lot on your, it's an emotional toll, and not much time to process kind of what happens every day, until we're into the next challenge. So when you get to those, high highs, low lows, it's an emotional process, to go through. And I know that for me, I cook with my heart and I put everything out on that plate every time. So there's a lot at stake, and that's emotional.
What was that low low for you this season? What was the most difficult challenge or the time you're like, oh, I'm going home?
I think, the team challenges that would, like, the pair team challenges,
Mhm.
those, I thought I was going home on both of those. Tag team, I was rough. I love Fred. Fred and I, like, are like best friends and love each other. But we both will admit that that was a rough one for both of us. And then the wall challenge was extremely difficult. And those two challenges really pushed me more, I think, mentally, to kind of just like get through.
Yeah.
um, yeah, definitely those challenges.
And then outside of the finale, what dish were you sort of the most proud of that you were really happy with?
I think the cake that I made, the baking challenge, I've been doing pastry for the last 4 years professionally. So to get that recognition for a skill that I've been really working on, and trying to, perfect, was really nice.
And Gordon has this reputation for being a hothead, but he seems genuinely like he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Joe's the one that was scarier to me, actually, because you just never know what he's going to say because he always looks so straight faced.
There.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who,
Yeah.
which judge was the most difficult for you to read, and were you most worried about tasting your food each episode?
With Gordon, I look up to all the judges. But Gordon, you want to impress him, and every time you're putting something forward, good or bad, it's nerve wracking. And yeah, so, but what I do love about Gordon is, even if it is not up to his standards, he'll always offer, constructive criticism on how you can make things better. I think sometimes with Joe, he just like gives you this stare, and doesn't say anything. And you're like, okay, well, do you like it or do you not like it? And you're like, I don't know, like you're playing a mind game with me. So yeah, sometimes with him, it's difficult.
And speaking of the judges, I had the opportunity to interview Aron one time, and I asked him, what in these cooking challenges, if they were throwing stuff at you, what ingredients or cuisine would throw you off or make you the most worried? And his answer was Japanese cuisine. So
Interesting.
I'm gonna throw that back at you. What
Okay.
ingredients or style would you be most worried about if you were thrown in a challenge?
I have to give a shout out to Shane from Juniors. Um, because if I was in his position in that global food challenge, it I think any of us, with Ethiopian cuisine, that is a very difficult one.
Yeah.
It's very specialized, and it's not a really common, food that many people make. So I know he did he did the best that he could with the time and the knowledge of everything. But yeah, I think Ethiopian cuisine would definitely throw me off. Trying to think what else. Yeah, I mean, I'm up for any challenge. But I think that one would have been tough.
And I'm always curious, how long does it take them to taste the food after you're finished? Are they just eating cold food up there, or are you worried it's going to melt if it's frozen? Like,
So
how long is that?
yeah. it's an interesting process. So yeah, most of the food that's eaten on is cold. Because the way that production happens and the show and filming, we have to take breaks and all of that. I think, the time that we're cooking, the 45 minutes or 60 minutes, that's the time. Like that is the time we have. The clock doesn't change in that challenge. But the whole filming day is like 8 to 12 hours. So there's a lot of, downtime or time just kind of waiting or the tastings and everything. But yeah, so the food usually that you have to take all that into consideration when conceptualizing a dish. In terms of like souffles and like frozen desserts, usually like with souffles, the judges, like right as the challenge ends, the judges will come up, go and taste it, or you'll bring it up right away. But like with the Baked Alaska challenge, we had to use liquid nitrogen to make the ice cream. And then we put them into the blast chillers, and they sat in there for quite a while before judging. And they sat in there even throughout the taste, each person's tasting. So as soon as you were called up, you would go get yours out of the freezer and bring it up to the front.
And just as a final question, you won this at 20 years old. You're the youngest winner that the show's ever had. Where are you going to go from here? Can we taste your cooking anywhere? Are you working in a restaurant, a bakery? What's next for you?
Yeah, so many things. I'm really excited to just continue growing and learning as a chef. And like you said, like I'm 21 now, and so it's I know that I have so many opportunities ahead of me. I am working. I'm a culinary instructor at a recreational cooking school in Santa Monica. So I am teaching, and I love teaching. I teach a lot of kids classes. And baking classes. So I do that. And I'm also working on some really fun projects that will allow me to cook for you guys. So that's in the works right now. And, hopefully, I want to be able to kind of take both of those aspects of working in a kitchen and a professional setting, but also the media side, because I think I'm really passionate about education and teaching. And I think media is a great way to do that. So maybe a TV show or some content down the line would be a dream.
Well, Dara, we're looking forward to seeing where you go next. There's certainly a bright future ahead for you, and hopefully we're all tasting your food or cooking your food with your instruction in the near future.
Yeah.
Congratulations on winning MasterChef.
Thank you.
Thanks for sitting down with Gold Derby today.
Thank you so much.